booties for black girl nerds.
Thank you so much, Jeandra, LeBeauf, Black Girl Nerds. Hi, Dominique. You look so
Thank
beautiful.
you. Good to see you.
Good to see you again, too. You look so regal. I love
Oh,
it.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I enjoyed your portrayal of Deborah Johnson. You brought such a light and sweetness and loving quality to that role. When you think about the real Deborah Johnson, what about her inspired that embodiment for you?
Well, we got to meet with the family before filming to see if they would want to join. You know, we're trying to get their blessings, but hopefully they would want to join, and they did. So that's absolutely amazing. But really, with Mama Core, just what I got to see, formerly known as Deborah Johnson, what I got to see was fire. Like she remind me of my grandmother in a way where she do the side eye, where she say whatever she want. You know what I mean? And I thought about, and it was one point where she said, you know, the Panthers were very disciplined and they didn't speak out of turn, and there were some things in the script that I say that she would have never said to Chairman Fred. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering how this fiery woman who says anything she wants could say, I would never have said that, because it was the simplest thing. It didn't even feel like it was rude or like harsh or anything. So I really had to try to understand it. Because of hearing that from her, it allowed me to say, okay, how can I make sure that I'm not doing it in a way that seems aggressive, or, you know what I mean? So it was more like finding the rhythm of how I would say something, like when I am talking to him at the college, and I say, well, next time, you know, maybe choose your words a bit more carefully. Like I guess there's a way in which you could say it that allows for her to be strong, to have her opinions about things, for him to see her mind, her intellect, and then also be strong in her own convictions. You know, so I think that was it as well. And me, I'm a epic romantic, and I'm a lover, and I was trying to manifest an acting role where I could play the love interest, and then lo and behold, Shaka was making this, and it would be with Daniel, and it would be telling this amazing Black story, Black love, and that I would have the honor. And so I really left myself open for it, and I let that influence how I moved. I watched Daniel take up space. I know Chairman Fred Hampton had these dimples, and I was looking, does Daniel have the dimples? And I would journal. You know, I would journal as my character. I journaled, and I would write poems about their first kiss, the first time they met, you know, and I really allow myself to sit in that youthfulness. You know, when we think of revolutions, we think of these all-powerful heroes that, you know, that seem beyond us and seem almost superhuman, and in many ways it feels as though Chairman Fred was, but there's other parts where they are human, and I really wanted to sink into the youthfulness. Like, what does it feel like when you want to kiss somebody but you don't know what to say or how to say it, you know? So that's what I was trying to go for.
I'm glad you said that. You know, a lot of times people forget that revolution is a young person's game. You know, the front lines of the revolution are usually sparked by young ideals. And when we're on the other side of history, in the time we're now 40 years, 50 years later, and we see it in black and white, and it makes the figure seem so much older.
Yeah.
Than almost like vintage. We don't think of Chairman Hampton as 22, 24, you know, a young man. And Miss Deborah also as a young woman. Were those conversations that you had in the course of preparation about bringing that youthfulness to life? Because I think that's lost on a lot of people, just exactly how young he was.
I think Daniel and I definitely talked about those moments, and like, for me, not like as a supportive wife that Deborah is to Chairman Fred in the movie, but also me as a supporting actress to Daniel, but also as a supporter to the story and the legacy of Chairman Fred. What is my mission? You know, my mission is to show through my eyes the things that we don't see, that we don't get to see all the time. And Dane and I spoke about those quiet moments. That's when things kind of pause just for a little while. And what is that like, you know?
Another thing that struck me, not only with your character but the other young ladies part of the part of the party, yes, women's intuition. The women's intuition about things were on point. And it wasn't so much that the men diminished it, but it didn't fully blossom and could have changed the course of history. Were you intrigued or surprised when you saw how much the women were questioning how things were going in that space in that time, and how it could have changed how the events turned out had they not delved deeper into, well, Lakeith's character doesn't quite feel right. Wild Bill doesn't quite feel right, and the women seem to be picking up on that immediately.
Thank you. Yeah. It's interesting because when people ask about preparation for this role, of course I did research, but a lot of it was intuition that led me to Deborah, like the quiet moments, the internal. And so when Mama Akua came to set and she gave me a hug and she said, that was a Deborah Johnson up there. You did that scene. And that was actually the scene where Dominique Thorne and I talked about, had that little private moment outside of the room where the cops were about to have the shootout. And for Mama Akua to say that, it really said, okay, I'm following my intuition. My intuition is spot on. So in the same way in which the character was kind of growing in the movie, I was also growing as an artist. And I mean, I just give a lot of shout out to Shaka King, our writer-director, because at the beginning, he said, I wrote this character for you. Let me know what you think about the script. And I read the script and I sent him a whole long email about everything that I loved. And I said, I have 2 thoughts, but I don't want to overstep. So let me know if you want to hear them. And he said, oh, you be playing her. You can't overstep. Give me your notes. And he called them notes. And a lot of it. And then after that, I got to actually write the poem that she shares with Chairman Fred in the movie. And as to me, it's like Shaka being like, there's certain things that women know that instinctively he's not going to know. You know what I mean? And allowing that to take up space in that way. I wrote him like 3-page essays on Deborah, on women's voices. He always made time. Dominique Thorne and I would be in a hotel and be like, you think Shaka thinking about this? I'm sure we could call him. You know what I mean? So like we would call him, and then Shaka, I'm here, we're done, and we're talking, and we said, we think this, and he'll be like, well, I don't know if it's this, but here's why. He'll always kind of give you a here's why, and then we'll say, okay. And he was like, but if something else comes up, call me back. And he had so many influence. He had the family, the studios, everything, and he's still trying to make the story that sits right in his heart, and yet still he's making space for the voice. And he mentioned that, that scene that we have split with the shootout and the poem, it wasn't in there before I suggested a poem. And so he feels like, and it's better off we have that character, we have that voice because I mentioned this, but it's because he gave space for it and he removed ego, and we got to collaborate.
I love that, because it's so often that the women's voice gets lost in the stories of the struggle and of the revolution, unless the woman is specifically the lead character, which is hardly ever. So it was very refreshing to see that included, and how you carried that. That was really, really beautiful.
Yeah, we really fought for that. Dom and I, the other Dominique, that was all. We're looking around, and it's a boys club, and we're still young actresses, and we're still like, okay, how do we navigate this space where we're not like overstepping? And we constantly, I'll be like, Shaka, we only telling you this because we have your back. Like, if anything, any questions that we have is just because we're thinking about this, and we're wondering if you are too. And he always was receptive of it all.
That's awesome. Which leads me to thinking about how the Deborah Johnson character brought that light to Chairman Hampton, and it brought him like moments of joy in a time in his life where he was giving his all to other people. And as an artist, what brings you joy? Because it's a different fountain of inspiration for artists and people like myself who consume artistry and creating. So what types of things bring you joy?
Playing piano brings me joy, but I will say meditation brings me joy, because I get a lot of quiet time with myself, and to know my truth, and to know that, we have direct access to God and the universe, and that, manifestation is real. And once you started asking this question, it immediately, I thought about like attracting like, and Chairman Fred Hampton, he was love. He is love. He had a macro love for the people, a ginormous love for people of all races. and walks of life. And so when he is that in his being, I'm so honored and so thankful that for the time that he got to share with Mama Akua, that he got to know love on a personal level as well. Just makes me believe, like attracts like, and if you give out love, that's what you're gonna get back. So.
Yeah, they definitely were twin flames and kind of had
Hey!
that thing he needed, to make, you have to have that level, you level it out so the glass doesn't overflow. A little bit of ice, a little bit of water
Yes.
to make it perfect. There is such a tightrope between the revolution and people living in the revolution, and Mother Akua was in that struggle, but then had to take a step back a bit because she's carrying a child. And some of the speeches that Daniel delivers are just mesmerizing, taken from his words and given his body to the struggle. How did that make you feel internally about how her having to step back and be a mother, and although she was so into the thick of it just like him, but being forced to take a step back to be a mother?
Yeah, so that was kind of like what Shaka said, when he said, take a shot at the poem. Want to really hear how she's feeling about the war zone aspect and the motherhood aspect. And so I really wanted to try to tap into the dichotomies of what it must be like. Is the baby gonna have his dimple? Is gonna have the eye? Like those precious moments that moms have when they're not in the thick of a war. She still has those questions, those fantasies, but at the same breath, she knows that she is a revolutionary, and in terms of, and she was kind of questioning that was where we were at the time, questioning if she can still be one. And by the end of the poem, she realizes that love and and bringing more love into the world is a revolutionary act. And I really love how we have Dominique Thorne, who's holding the gun and holding it down in the security quadrant, but then we also learned that radical love and activism and is also within the body, and is what you choose to put out and how you choose to carry on. And one of the most revolutionary things I think anybody's ever done is shield someone else's body with theirs.
Absolutely. With in the closing, the people are aware of the history is based on historical events, so people are aware of how he died. It was a shootout, and there's just such a tension in the scene. It's so emotional. What is the energy on set on a day like that, because you're shooting it multiple ways, just to get all of the scenes right so we as the audience can enjoy? What is the level of intensity on a day like that, because it's very, very heavy with emotion?
Absolutely. Well, one, I got to do an interview with Charlize Antoinette Jones, who was the head of wardrobe, and I never heard her aspect or her take on it, but she said it is really traumatic even for her, because she has to change the color of blood. She has to have a lot of other outfits, replicas, and then she has, like, once blood hits air, it changes color, and and keeping track of those things. So even on that level, I was blown away. For my own personal experience of the day, it landed on the actual 50th anniversary of the assassination of Chairman Fred. I prayed from the beginning that I could be a vessel, that I could be open to be a conduit for that kind of love. And so I was like, how do I get there in love? How do I get to that ending? And so I let myself be open to how Daniel moves and how he let Chairman Fred go through him. And so it was like an exchange of energy a lot of the time. And so by the end, the night before, my stomach is in knots, my heart is racing so fast, and I'm not understanding why I can't sleep and what's going on. And I have this pit in my stomach that something bad is going to happen. And then I said, oh no, Daniel's going to be okay. And I kept telling myself that, and I realized that my body couldn't separate or differentiate between the two. But it was only because I asked, I left myself open. I said, please let me be a vessel for this story. And so by the end, I had to mourn that loss of love that was taken from us, the world, but also from Mama Akua, the woman who I got the honor of playing. So.
Awesome. Dominique, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
was, you were wonderful. You did a beautiful job. Very, very happy with your performance. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for your time.
Means a lot. Thank you.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.